Hi, and welcome to episode 15 of M1 Yarns and the Michigan Makers podcast. I'm Jamie, also the yarn dyer and crafty person behind m1yarns.com and M1 Yarns everywhere on the digital world. And
I am Danielle, also known as Danielle Crafts Away on Instagram, Ravelry, and anywhere else you can find me. But actually, those are the only two places you can find me. We are coming to you today from Metro Detroit, where it is very sunny and not rainy. We just had a very long rainy week, and so I am excited to have some sun, but I am also excited to have a special guest today.
yeah, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Kirby, Kirby Valenti Designs, or K.V Designs on Instagram, or Kirby Valenti Designs on Etsy.
Nice. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm pretty excited.
We have been wanting to have you on the podcast literally from day one. So
Yeah.
this is like really
When we made a list of makers, because you're not just a knitter, you're a maker, and we'll talk more about the things that you do, but when we made a list of makers we wanted to have, there were very specific people we thought about, and there were like 3 people. You were one of them. Natalie was another one, and then the third one I'll keep a secret because this person is going to come on I think next month.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to find out who it is.
Yeah. So now that we're all, vaccinated and living our best lives, coming out of COVID, I mean, this is just so fun to be all together. So
I know, it's been a really long time,
It
hasn't
has
it?
been a long time.
Probably over 2 years.
It's been,
I think even pre-COVID.
I'm sure I haven't seen you since well before COVID.
Yeah, it was before COVID.
It was
we
a
were
sip
at the
and
Sip and Stitch,
right?
I think
and
I had my daughter with me.
you had your daughter with you. Was your mom
Oh
with
my
you?
gosh, she was a little baby.
No, she was in a, I remember she was still in a car seat. That's how small she
Okay,
was.
someone else's mom was
wow.
with them, but she was in a car seat, and she's 2.
Yeah, she'll be 3 in the end of September.
Wow, so that's the
Wow.
last time.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
So Kirby, we've known each other. We'll get into how we all know each other, but you designed my logo for
did.
M1 Yarns.
Yeah.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
That was such a fun creative process
Yeah.
to be going back and forth, brainstorming and tweaking, and I had like a rough idea, but you really brought that creatively to life, and from the professional aspect of things I had never even thought about. I mean, you just made it so easy.
You were easy to work with. It's always refreshing too to have a client know exactly what they want.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have worked with others who don't have so much of a direction, and it makes it very difficult because I can design whatever you have in mind, but if you don't have anything in mind, it's kind of hard to go from nothing to something. So it was so easy. You came to me like, this is exactly what I want, and I think we only had a couple rounds of changes, and it was fun to work with you too.
So I guess we put the cart before the horse, but so you're a graphic designer by trade and by training. So is that your full-time job, and do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I work at a small agency in Metro Detroit, and we primarily do the catalogs for Stellantis vehicles,
Okay.
So Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep,
Oh,
Ram,
wow.
and I work on the international side, so I do all the international
Oh.
catalogs for 9 different markets.
Wow.
Nice.
So I've been there since 2012. I was lucky enough to get the job right after I graduated. It was actually only supposed to be a 2-week freelance job.
Oh, wow.
And turned in full time. So I'm very fortunate that the cards just kind of fell in the right place, and I love working there, and the team I work with is wonderful, and it's nice working from home and
that's
not having to commute right now, which it's not too far from
Okay.
where I live anyways. It's 25 minutes on a good day from where I am, but working from my basement is kind of nice too.
Yeah.
Oh wow. I like dream to be a graphic designer. So I say fake graphic design. But
Yeah, so a lot of like the stuff we learn in school is the program side of it. And my primary focus is like editorial design, so catalog work, and I love typography, so like letters,
okay.
stuff like that. I am not a drawer. I am not an illustrator. I do like hand lettering, and I've been kind of dabbling in that.
I was going to ask you.
I was going to ask you.
But other than that, don't ask me to draw something because it's not going to look great. I did not get the drawing gene.
But you have the eye for how things fit together.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think so, and I think I have a really good eye for color, and part of school is, you know, we learn a lot about color, and I mean, that's part of my job as well, to know when things look right on a page, and it's a little different now that most stuff has gone digital, but so I think I have a good trained eye for that. There's still so much to learn, and I'm constantly learning new things, and I think that's what I like about the career too, is that it's there's an evolution with it, that it's constant changing, and there's so much to gain, so it's never just the same thing over and over, and that I think that's why I love it.
So we all connected really through a sip and stitch that I think we've talked about before on the podcast. It's a bunch of Metro Detroit crocheters and knitters, and I think there's a few people who do all sorts of other fiber arts. And we meet at a coffee shop in normal life, maybe like once every
month, every 2 months.
It can be once a month. I know for a while we were on a roll. It was like once a month. Yeah,
and it's a pretty big group. It's really nice. It's usually like a Saturday or Sunday morning, I want to say.
I think it started with 8 of us, and then just started growing, which is so cool to meet all of the makers in the area, because you follow these people on Instagram, and to see them in real life and connect with them in person is I think more fun than just following people.
I agree, and you find out so many facets of people that you don't really get from social media. So I really love that. So for that group, you designed a pin.
I love that pin.
Which I actually, so I'm just going to show you on my pin bag, because this is where I keep all my pins. But
and this is one of the, this is actually before I got an iPad with an Apple Pencil. And I did this with marker. And someone came up with, I don't know who came up with the name, but I know since we're Southeast Michigan, I just kind of took it from there.
Yeah. Oh, and it says 2017.
So we started, our group started in 2017.
Wow. It's been that long?
So that one was the first hand lettering I did for a pin, and then since I have now 2 other designs.
This was my first pin.
That was my first pin too. It was my first pin. Yeah, and I was so happy to have it.
Yeah, I love making them. I haven't done anything new in a while with those. And the whole reasoning behind that is, being a maker, in general, I collected pins growing up. Like, anytime we went on a trip, we would always have to stop at a store that had pins, and that's kind of where my love for pins came from. And I figured, why not kind of mix the two? And I had saw some out. I had seen some through Etsy, but nothing that really stuck out at that time, because I think they were just starting to become a thing.
Yeah.
It like in 2017,
like
2018.
Pens and buttons.
Yeah, and then putting them on your project bag.
Yep.
So I thought it'd be cool to make one for the group, and everyone seemed to be really on board with it. So I kind of rolled with it, and then shortly after that one, I have a sip and stitch one, and then the infamous just one more row saying. I have.
I need to go on your Etsy.
So you have an Etsy shop.
Oh, it's gonna get blown out. There we go.
Maybe I can show it a little bit closer too.
Did you bring the sip and stitch to the sip and stitch?
Yes. So for a while I had just the 2 of them, and then I think a year after, the just one more row came out.
Nice.
So they're fun. I think they're unique to what else is out there, and it's what I like is that it's my handwriting, my own kind of personal touch, and it brought my love of collecting pins and the knitting world kind of together. So, and I do have a huge knitting stash of pins too at home somewhere.
Nice.
So speaking of the knitting world, why don't you go ahead and tell us about your fiber journey?
So I actually learned to knit in 1st grade in latchkey.
Oh, wow.
My mom's a teacher, and she would have to stay late, and so I was a latchkey kid, and there was these plastic knitting needles in a bin with some acrylic yarn, and one of the ladies like, hey, do you want to learn? And my grandma was a big knitter, and I knew of knitting, but it was never really like an interest. So when I said, why not? I like crafty things, and as a first grader, what are you, 6, 7?
Yeah.
So nothing ever became of that. And like I said, my grandma was a huge knitter, and that was something that we shared together. And she actually took me to my first yarn store, and I actually still have the yarn, and the project half started. Just like a 2x2 ribbed scarf. And I think I'm just gonna rip it out and then make a hat or something, because I'm not really a ribbed scarf. I don't really wear scarves like that. But I still have the yarn. It's very special because she helped me. She picked it out with me, and you know, it was my her first purchase for me. And that was probably middle school, maybe early high school. I tried crocheting. I've done cross stitch, like yarn latch hooking. And then I didn't really get serious about knitting till maybe end of high school, early college.
Okay.
And then it just kind of took off, and I would make hats, and I would see things. I'm that person. I would see something like, ooh, I can make that.
Yes.
I'm every person's worst nightmare.
Everything that I see, I'm like, ooh, I can make that.
Yeah, so I just, I started the basics. I kind of taught myself. The daycare we used to go to, we've stayed good friends with the owner, and she was also an avid knitter, and she had taught me, she was the person who actually taught me how to cast on correctly, because I would just make it up and it would work. I would make headbands with these bows, and looking back, they're really bad. And there's so many ways I would do it differently now with all the knowledge that I know, but it's just since college it kind of took off and has become an expensive hobby. And almost therapeutic.
Oh, for
yes,
sure.
not almost.
It is therapeutic.
Absolutely.
And being a very type A person, I like things a specific way. If I have to rip out my knitting, it doesn't bother me. And
me either.
I love the challenge. I love that I love that there's so much to learn. And
I'm over here like, I hate it.
I will rip something out because I know that I can't live with it.
Yeah,
that's true.
My thing is, you spend so much money on the fabric or the yarn itself. I want it to be a garment that I'm going to wear and enjoy and love and fit. And if I were to finish it and it doesn't fit, then it's just going to sit there, and I'm going to look at it and
look at
resent
that money. Yes, look at the money you spent.
It's like money burnt.
And just
and it's just yarn. You can rip it out. I mean, it's not.
Some yarns are a little more harder than others.
Well, yeah, because I had
learned that the hard way with slub yarn.
I've ripped out a mohair sweater twice now.
I never had slub, but I had a sweater I talked about a few episodes back that was too short. And I wore it and I was okay with it, but one day I put it on and I said, I'm not okay with this anymore. And I started ripping it out, and it was so hard to rip out because it had this Delina, and it was just it was really felted together.
Could you
some places.
Cut it and
I ended up having to cut it.
I've done
Luckily, because I buy so much yarn, I buy more yarn than I need. I had yarn to compensate for the yarn that I lost, but it was hard to rip out. But I had to do it. I literally could not live with it anymore. I love the sweater. I just hated the length.
Yeah, you gotta love it.
Yeah, I have a top that I made. I actually ended up making two of them. One for me, one for my sister. It's
nice.
So the Streamline Tank by 2 of Wands.
Oh.
And
I gotta look that up.
This was before.
As soon as someone says
I'm looking it up
I'm like,
I do that too. I can't watch podcasts anymore with yarn related because all I do is sit there and look up.
Oh my god, I go to the show notes. So when they're talking, I try to pay attention, but then I go down and say, okay, did they name that? Or when someone's making something and they hashtag, I go to Ravelry right away.
Cute. I'll insert a photo so you don't have to look it up.
Let me see.
It was last summer's, and it's made with, I want to say it's made with Kobu, which you could use, really you could use anything with a nice drape. I liked working with the Kobu. It does split very easily, and it's a little, I'm not a small person, so I have to use a larger size. So the more yarn you use, sometimes the heavier the garment is.
I think someone talked about how that drapes and how it can feel, but it also feels very cool.
Yeah, so it's, I don't know if I've actually worn it other than taking the photos. So I ended up starting that one over 3 times because I didn't gauge swatch. I have since learned to the proper gauging. This top I had to. I ended up having to.
What's the name of that?
This is the Rift Tee.
Okay, that is cute.
Who is that by?
It reminds me of another.
Is it Jacqueline?
Oh, C-Slack.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. So I had to go up
cute.
2 sizes for the needle because I loved the fabric that the gauge made. I did 3 gauge swatches for this. And I had to add 3 inches, and it's still, I'm tall. I'm almost 5'9", so, and I'm busty, which doesn't help with garments either.
But
so
that's the great part about knitting and crocheting. You're literally making bespoke, garments.
For you specifically.
Yeah.
And I think this top kind of changed the way I felt about gauge swatching because I would make one and kind of fake it and be like, okay, it's good enough.
I don't.
You can't do that. I've learned.
Yeah.
Because then you just rip it out. And I'm very happy with how this fits. I actually think I'm going to make another one the next size up. I want it a little boxier and I want it just a tad longer.
So did you, because it's a split here, so is it bottom up?
It's bottom up, so you do
like a
the front hem and the back hem, and then you join and you knit in the round up until the sleeves split.
Okay.
Ooh, that's a tongue twister.
Right.
And then you knit the panels, and then you.
So that's a
It's
lot
a wonderful
like
pattern.
That has
the
a nice
Weekender.
shoulder seam.
Yeah.
Yes, I highly recommend.
That
It was
is so
well written,
cute.
and she has what I love about her pattern. This was my first pattern of hers. Is that it's well written and it's also customizable to all types of bodies.
Okay.
So, and for larger chested women, because I see patterns that are on these petite women and they look wonderful, but that's not what my body looks like. So I'm like, okay, will it work with me? Will it not work with me? She has it built like, if you have bigger biceps, there's there's a lot of math involved, which I love math, so I'm all for it.
I don't love math, but I love patterns that allow you to sit and customize it and like fill in the blank for you. Because I had a pattern like that, and I was like, okay, I gotta measure this, and I have to write this here, and I made it exactly for me.
Yeah, so she even has you put in your measurements, and then it tells you like, okay, if you're within this bracket, then do this. If you're not within this bracket, then go to this part. And I loved that. It was basically like a kind of build your own formula, because you could do long sleeves with it.
Oh, wow.
And like I said, I added 3 inches. So if it was not, 3 extra inches, that would have been real cropped. And
I always add extra inches because I'm a tight knitter and I never gauge swatch. And
well, Danielle, maybe you should start.
I know. It seems like I'm the last of the Mohegan. Like I had some people with me not swatching. And it seems like everybody's like switching over to swatching now.
Well, if I didn't swatch, for this would not be mine. I would not be wearing it because I had, like I said, I could have gone up a needle size, but it was too open and airy, and I didn't love the drape. So the swatch that I did, I had to go up 2 sizes to get the correct bust.
So that's the one thing, I will go up a size. Like, I'm really good at being able to look at a pattern and being able to say, maybe I need to go up a size, maybe I need to go down a size. I never changed the needle size.
I just did a pattern where I did, I mainly picked it for my bust, and then I picked like a different, I was like picking parts and then doing math to kind of blend them together. Which, it's a good skill if you ever have the opportunity to take a class at like Vogue.
Maybe I should do something like that one day.
I would love to. Just the whole knowing the construction and how to fit a garment to your body. Because there's so many tops out there I would love to make, but they don't go up high enough in bust, or I have a big thing with necklines. I can't do anything straight across or too high. I just don't like the feel of anything up there. So trying to like really, I spend hours searching for a pattern. Then once I find it, I'm like, okay, let's buy the yarn, let's go. And I'm like, oh wait, but I got 3 other projects sitting over there. But I've been really good about how many projects I have going at once. So I just have so many on deck ready to go. And I have that itch right now. I want to cast everything on.
I was feeling like that the other day, and that's why I casted this one. I had the yarn.
I love that.
It was
color.
already, thank you. It was already in a ball. I didn't have to wind it, and I felt the urge to cast something on, and so I just did it because I know this is like a tank top and it'll go fast.
Yeah.
Is that one of those bralettes?
This is Jessie May. Have you tried any of her patterns?
You know, I don't think I have, but I wanted to do that drop stitch tank.
Oh.
So the thing is too is I have to find tank tops that have thicker straps because
Okay.
I have a hard time going without a bra. It's just
Yeah.
You don't so I don't go without a bra. This is another Jessie May that I'm wearing right now.
I do love her patterns, and I have a few favorited right now.
And I have on a jacket, obviously, but I also have a bandeau thing that I wear without, so it'll act as a bra without the straps. And I know it sounds crazy because I'm not a strapless bra kind of person, but it actually works.
See, I always feel like it makes my boobs look like a pancake, like a
See, it
it's like a
never
mammogram
them.
or something.
I haven't had one of those yet. But I can only imagine. I've heard stories. I just feel like with those, I'm constantly pulling.
Yeah.
And I'm always trying to hide it.
You know what my new thing is for these tank tops that I want to wear on certain days you just cannot tolerate strapless. Those lacy bralettes that
oh yeah,
I'll do something contrasty that's I don't care if the world sees it. It's a part of the outfit.
I know what you're talking about.
I feel physically more comfortable, and I'll get colors to coordinate with my.
So I've tried finding some of those.
Yeah.
Because I have some tank tops that I would love to wear, even just that. But they're hard to find in larger sizes. And I need the support. And I know this whole podcast became about bras and sorry everyone.
But half the time we talk about makeup. Makeup, bras,
it goes with
mammograms.
You have to make sure when you're knitting something, you actually have to consider the bra that you're going to wear.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of patterns with the lacy patterns right here. And you have to ask yourself, do I wear a tank top under this? Do I wear my bra under this? So you have to consider that when making a garment.
And that's, I think, one of the reasons why I don't make a lot of tank tops is because of the strap situation. I think they're adorable. I would love to knit them. I've thought about knitting a bra, even just lounging around the house would be nice.
Yeah.
Or under something. So
it's cute under. Listen, if you see me in a bralette, I'm gonna have something over it. You're never gonna just see me.
And I love the layered look of it. I'm pro loose fitting clothes right now.
There is a really beautiful tank top. Well, it's more of a sleeveless top. I'll have to insert a photo of it here, but it's by Joji Locatelli.
I love her designs too.
Check this out.
See, I would wear that.
Cute.
And I feel like with
is that new?
It's I want to say it came out last summer.
Okay.
You're gonna have to send me that because I'm not gonna remember it.
Last August. So it's the staple linen top.
Okay.
And I feel like with that panel down the center, you also, you could wear a cami.
Which I typically do anyways, so I love, that's so cute. I would totally wear that.
Yeah, and I feel like that would be super breezy, and the armhole is big enough where,
That's the other thing too. Some of the armholes are so big, it's your bra's just there. And
yeah, you have to, well, my armholes aren't big. I try it on as I go. Because a lot of them are bottom up.
So this goes up to a 68-inch bust.
I'm well within that. This could work, guys.
There you go. And in case you get breast implants, you're still okay.
Well, I think I'd go the other way.
Let's talk about your make that everyone has been snatching up. And I still haven't got mine. I don't know why. I
almost texted you too to see if you wanted me to bring one for you.
I
should
missed
have. That's so rude of me.
I told you were going to be jealous.
I missed the pre-order, I think, of the first round. And then wouldn't you know it, 6 weeks ago, maybe it was even just 4 weeks ago, I text Danielle and I'm like, did she ever come out with those other ones, the round 2? And she's like,
yeah.
Those have been gone. What are you even doing?
So they're actually now just in my Etsy store.
Oh.
I wasn't sure.
It's not a pre-order.
It's not a pre-order.
Okay.
It is made to order, so there is some time from order to shipping because I do all the printing, the cutting, the binding, packaging at home myself,
Wow.
all in my basement.
So tell us what it is.
So, kind of to back up the whole reasoning
Yeah.
behind this. As a graphic designer, I like things a specific way. I like clean and simple. I don't need fluff. I don't need extra things. I want something to the point. And I was talking with a good friend of mine about I just need something to keep track of my projects because I write all over. I'm a printed pattern person. I can't, as much as I love digital things, I love pen to paper. And I needed somewhere to put all of my notes for my knitting. And I would find that I would make notes on patterns, and then the pattern would get lost or thrown away or lost in the shuffle, and then I wouldn't remember, what needle size did I use, because I want to make it again.
Yes, yes.
I've done so many baby blankets over the last couple years, and I tend to do like the same style. So I was trying to keep track on my phone, like, this blanket used these needles. But then I'm like, what yarn did I use for that? So I tried doing like just a notebook and writing it down, but it was kind of chaotic and unorganized.
Yeah.
So I came up with a very simple version, which is like the pre-version to the first round of notebooks that I had. And it was just somewhere where I like to know when I start something and when I finish it to kind of see how long it takes me.
I love that.
That just could be my type A personality. Or
I already know mine.
little
Take
OCD.
a long time.
So I wanted something that I could keep track of everything and refer back to. I'm going to put this down. So the project journal was born. I went back and forth a few times. I had reached out to a few other makers, some designers, because I wanted something that, and originally I made this just for me to use because there wasn't anything really out there that was speaking to me, and I like things organized. I love notebooks. I have stacks of notebooks and pens at home. So I wanted something that I could use for myself.
Okay.
So I had reached out to some people, and they're like, there is nothing really out there at the time, and you should maybe market this. And I'm notorious for coming up with ideas and thinking they're great, and then I just don't go anywhere with them. So this was big for me. There was a lot of nerves into this because you're putting yourself out there in a way.
Yeah.
And I have that fear of being judged. What are people going to think? Do they think this is ridiculous? So
No,
I reached
didn't.
out to some people like, hey, can you test this for me? Let me know what you think. And the responses I was getting were wonderful and
Wow.
kind of blew me away a little bit. And I didn't know where it was going to go. I'm going to flip this plastic. So I created the project journal.
I love that color.
So originally it started just in this craft paper. And this is my hand lettering.
I gotta shoot. Shirley can here.
And it's kind of evolved since. I have these plastic protective covers because mine goes everywhere with me.
That's a nice touch.
And it's in and out of a bag. So I wanted something, because I found with my first versions, I wanted something to protect the corners and just kind of give it some longevity.
Keep it nice, yeah.
Yeah, so I use, the paper I use is locally sourced from Michigan. It's French
Nice.
Paper Company. And I wanted something that was, close to home. And I've used their papers before. And I loved the quality of it. And I wanted something thick and substantial that didn't just rip really easily. And being a pen person, I wanted something that wasn't going to have a lot of bleed.
Yeah.
I mean, if you use a Sharpie in this, there will be a little bit bleeding, but most pens
But
don't
I have
bleed.
no
Yeah,
bleed.
like felt pens don't bleed
Yeah.
through. So I came out with, my first time around, I came out with 3 versions. I had the designer, which is which it's going to get blown out, isn't it?
We'll insert.
There you go.
1 project per page with a allotted graph area.
Love that.
I have the mini version, which is those who just want 1 project. They don't want to see anything else. It's just like 1 little project page. And then I have, sorry, I'm a little unorganized. The slim version, for those who do a lot of projects, there's 6. You can kind of see back here.
Yeah.
So 6 projects per page. Since then, I've introduced different 8 color options, and I've also have a project planner, and then the ability, if you're a left-handed writer,
Oh, that's nice.
binding it on the opposite side.
Oh my God.
So one of my good friends growing up was a lefty, and well, she still is a lefty, and that hasn't changed. But she always would complain that her hand would get, hit the binding,
and it would smear and
yeah. So I wanted, I want to be all inclusive. I want everyone to have something that fits their needs. And then I came out with the planner, which has monthly,
like a calendar.
it's undated, so you're not stuck using it specific months.
Oh my God.
I did give the option if you want months added to the
specific
top.
years.
Yep.
Yeah.
So and then it has your designer pages, which are the full page with the graph paper, and then each have, minus the mini, each have a plastic pocket.
Oh, that's
To,
amazing.
to stick little notes or whatever, and then abbreviations.
The ruler.
Yep. So the
paper
ruler is since used to be on the back cover. It's now on the inside cover. But I have abbreviations for knitting and crocheting, and it's generic enough that it's not specifically for knitting. It's not specifically for crocheting, because I do both projects here and there. I mean, I'm not a great crocheter, but I know some of the basics. And then
you've got the yarn weight chart.
Yeah, so
That's
a weight chart,
helpful.
holding
wow.
2 strands together equals what, and then the needle hook size conversion chart. Just because I'm always looking stuff up, so
have
I
to Google
wanted
every time.
Yeah,
Google.
so I wanted something all in one spot.
You know where that...
And I use this. This is mine. I mean, it's written in.
cool.
I have things taped in it. I mean, all my projects are here. I highlight when it's finished, and now that I know, like, talking about wanting to make another one here, all the things I did are right here.
That's what I did with mine. When you first introduced this, I was probably the first person to order when she said that it was live.
You were one of the first people actually
and then
to order.
I inboxed her and I said, "Where do you live?" Because you don't even
You're all
have to
stalker.
you don't even have to
You'll
ship
be
mine.
driving by.
You don't have to ship mine. I will come by your house and get it. And just so happen you don't live too far from me.
So, you know where that would be really useful that I actually just saw in person because I vended at a fiber fair last month. If you have like certain projects that you're going to be shopping for at fiber festivals, you know, sometimes there's not good Wi-Fi, or let's say you don't want to use your phone because if you're on your phone all day, it's going to die. You know, you could write down, okay, here's the project that I want to make. Here's, you know, the details that I'll need.
Yeah, and I've already started writing in
Oh,
pages. I have a couple. I have 2 sweaters that I really want to make, and I already have the yarn for them. So they're on like on deck, and I still use an online database to store information. And like for the Streamline Tank, it's made in panels, but I did mine. And I figured out how to do it in the round because I'm not a fan of seaming.
Yeah.
And
I don't
stuff
think
like,
anybody is.
No, so stuff like that. I'm happy to share what I did to. I mean, it's not taking away from the pattern. It's not telling you what is in the pattern. It's how I constructed it.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to share that with anyone who wants to know. So I'll post those on Ravelry.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't always want to go on my computer to look to see
look,
what.
yeah.
And I don't post
Yeah.
every project I do on Ravelry, especially like the baby blankets that I make over and over. But it's all in here, so I know exactly what yarn, what colors. Because that's the other thing is, you know, the ball band gets lost. My daughter loves taking them out and then they disappear. So I always know what yarn. I've been doing a the Hexy Love crochet blanket for my daughter.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's been ongoing for quite some time. My good friend Andrea taught me at work how to do the hexagons.
I have not learned how to do the hexagon.
It's a lot easier than I thought it would be. It took me a little bit to...
It probably is. And I've been crocheting since I was 10. And I could not get a hexagon. And I never tried again.
You should.
Yeah, I think it's time.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful thing, but the blanket, and I love the colors, but the problem is, and I haven't brought it out in probably 6 months plus, I would do the centers and the second one, because then the third color you actually join as you go.
Okay.
So I'd get a whole row. I charted what colors I want, and I'd get a whole row of the centers done, and then I would join them. Well, then she'd come, next thing I know, my hook is missing, and she's running around trying to crochet the air with it. And then she would take all my centers and throw them and try to play with them. So it was a project that became not accessible or doable with her in the room because she just wanted to play. So I had some scrap yarn. I made some hexies, and I'd give her a fake one and let her pretend. And she'll come up. She goes, "Mom, can I knit?" She'll grab my needles and she'll sit there and she'll I'll pull them out and she'll clink, "Mom, I'm knitting too."
Oh, that's so cute.
I hope she loves it when
hope
she
Raina
gets
loves
older,
it. Me
because
too.
it would be so much fun to share my love of knitting and craft. I mean, I think I knit almost every day, and if I don't, then I'm not feeling well.
I agree.
But it's just, I find I can't sit still without having my hands doing something.
So let's talk about what we're knitting.
You go first.
Me first?
Yeah.
So this is the classic tee, Darling J'adore. Is that how you say it?
I love those designs.
So I've actually had this yarn and this in my queue for a year and a half.
I think I might have that.
I had purchased it in all hopes to wear it to our Maker Life in Portland.
Yeah.
Oh, you were going to Portland?
Yeah, so the plan
Okay.
is still happening next summer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I figured, you know what, I'd love to have another tee to wear this summer, and I love it's modern DK cotton. No, it's color 6624.
I'm gonna start doing that with my yarn just to be a pain.
Yeah,
That is a pain.
If
That
you
is a
look it
pain.
up on any website that has Barocco,
I love Baroque.
I got this at a local yarn store.
Nice.
And I just fell in love with this color. I love all things minty, blues. So yeah, it's the beginning stages of it.
Cool.
That
I
is
can't wait to
cute.
see how it comes along.
It looks really simple.
Yeah, I think it's just a basic rag. And what I like about this, because I'm kind of debating whether I want to go up a size. My gauge was right on.
Because you swatch.
Because I swatched. So after gauge swatching, I was on for once. I'm usually pretty close to gauge. Every once in a while it's a little wonky. So I'm kind of debating, because the size that I'm doing now would give me like 4.5 inches positive ease.
Okay.
And then the next size up is like 8 inches.
Oh.
So there's kind of a drastic
in between.
But what I like about this pattern is that I fall between the sizes that start the same. So all it would be more raglan increases. So
Okay.
I wouldn't have to rip it out.
Is this what kind of increase is this?
Just
Is it the lifted?
make one.
Is the make one? It looks really
Make
neat.
one right when make one left.
I have to
I
look
need
up
to look
certain
it up.
things every single time.
Oh, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
The only make one left, make one right. I think I had figured it out. Like make one right, you go from the rear. So that's kind of how I remember it.
I remember
with the
right
R.
is in back, which is rib, right in back.
That's a good way to think of it too.
I just look it up. I don't even try to think of it. I don't try to come up with anything. I actually have
A ton of those in my
thing
I
that
love
I
those.
look at every time. So I
Yeah.
have a Katrinkos, the little wooden square.
It's like
it's kind of a
keychain.
reference thing, and it's a keychain, and you can have a few of them you can kind of flip through. And I have one with the make one on there. And so if I need to remember which is which, I just look at that, or I go to YouTube. Yep,
These.
I have those.
Perfect.
Yep,
I love them.
I love those.
And that's a whole set.
Yeah,
So
I
it
have a
was
whole
the-
set.
You pick, so it was mix and match.
You can put them
so,
together, the
yeah.
ones that you want.
So, and there's Kitchener.
You know what? And so I have Kitchener. I have, I don't have this gauge swatch key because I don't gauge swatch. I don't have like the yarn wrap, but this is super cute just to have. I have the Kitchener. I don't do the setup row for the
So
Kitchener.
that's what I heard, that it's not necessary.
It's not necessary.
And
I've
I'm
never done it.
wondering, but when I was doing the short rows, I did a first couple of them backwards. Because I'm thinking, oh, I'm on the purl size. I have to try to figure it out. But then
Yeah, when you
clicked.
throw-
I'm like, oh, No, she's right. It's on me. So, but I don't think you could even tell.
No.
And
I
where
can't
I
at all.
screwed it up will be in the back with my hair.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's the good thing about having long hair.
Yep.
On my Ranunculus, I got some weird seam that's going like this, but my hair covers it, so it doesn't matter. I don't know what's with
So
my nose. It's itching so much.
I do wear my hair up more than I wear it down.
I wear mine down. more.
It's lazy. You know? If after like 2 days it's pretty frizzy and I can't wash it every day. So, but yeah, anyways, we digress.
We digress.
But that Ranunculus is actually on that's one of my necks to do. I
That
have the
is a
yarn ready to
fun-
go.
That's a fun
It's
pattern.
a fun pattern, especially once you get into it and you know the pattern, you just go.
Yeah, so I'm really excited.
But I'm going to make
because-
another one.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Is like once you make one, you want to
Yes.
explore other, and that would be
That
fun.
and the Lovenote.
Yes.
So that's on my list too, and I have
Mhm.
because what weight is that?
It's fingering and mohair, or you can do fingering, or you can do DK.
So I have a set of fingering and mohair that I bought for. Well, I had yarn for a sweater that I have now since decided I don't think it's the right one for me.
Mhm.
So I had purchased mohair to go with it to do the no frills.
Oh, okay.
But I'm kind of leaning away from that.
I want to do no frills.
I kind of want to do it with. I haven't decided yet. So I have yarn to do that. So I'm either going to do a Lovenote with that combo or save it for the no frills. But eventually that yarn will get used for one of those.
So let's talk about, I know you mentioned what you're knitting on. I knit too much on my socks, so I'm ripping back.
You did too much.
Too much
ribbing.
Yeah, too much ribbing.
Oh, I thought it was mostly rib. Oh, because it goes into a different kind of rib.
Yeah,
Okay.
and different yarn.
Got it. I'm working on another Jessie May pattern, the framework bralette. This is my second one. This is stash yarn. I think it's haiku. I forget the name of the colorway.
color.
It might be either cherry or something like that. I forgot. So I am excited to finish this, and I have one more that I'm going to make. So.
And you're wearing a Jessie May.
And I'm wearing the My Secret crop top from last year.
Yeah. I'm wearing the Spring Sorrel, which
Mhm.
is actually my FO.
Nice.
So,
I love the colors together.
thanks. This was like a little stash buster of the cotton. So the cotton convertible is my organic cotton sport weight base.
Mhm.
It's in the shop this year with 10 new colors, but last summer I also dyed that base and had some colors, and these were all like, you know, the last single skeins that I had basically just kept for myself, and I had tried to design a top
Ooh.
last summer, and 2020 was an epic fail. So
I remember.
I was just kind of like, well, I want to do something really fun. Normally I'm a very like earth tones, kind of conservative look, but I was in the mood for a mashup. So I'm holding actually 2 strands of sport weight together and kind of creating like a little bit of a fade. I was just kind of randomly changing like one strand, and then every now and then trading off the other strand. And I love this design. I think I want to make the winter sorrel. I think it's just called the sorrel. But oh, and then Woolen Pine. Did you guys see? I guess it came out in May, but they came out with this new. I put it on my Instagram stories. This.
I saw that. I saw that.
And
The sea glass.
yeah, and what you can do is use your Advent minis.
Such a good idea.
But okay, so I was reading that, and I was trying to ask myself if I would have the patience for it.
But you know what?
Is it
I
like
think you
color work?
It kind of is in the sense, but they specify on their Ravelry page you don't have any ends to weave in. The way they have designed it is it's like your ends.
You kind of knot it, don't you? Or is it where you kind of
I think
knit
like
over them?
yeah, you knit over them.
Okay, so then you wouldn't have a ton, but it's a good stash buster. Even
Well,
not just
it is
Advent.
definitely a stash buster, and I don't know why this just popped into my head, but I think after our sock make along, we should do a stash buster make along. You can't buy any yarn to. I'm coming up with this right now. We haven't discussed this.
I was gonna say.
So I don't have the details. I don't have any details about it. But
I was thinking we
should do that because we've talked a lot about stash busting, and then you have an advent coming to you in December. Jamie has her advent. I'm gonna buy Jamie's advent, and we're gonna have all of these minis, and then we have a ton of yarn in our stash now. Yeah. So I think we should have like a stash busting make along.
Do a new year.
Oh, I love that idea. All right.
Because you can't start now with advents aren't coming out.
Yeah, we need to wait until they come.
Yeah. Start fresh new year by cleaning out your stash.
Yeah.
It'll be here. You just heard it here.
Yeah.
January 1st, 2022. It's going to be the Michigan Makers Stash Buster.
Yeah.
Since we have a Michigan maker here.
Yeah.
Yay.
Well, I'll have to definitely partake in that because I'll need to do something with all the single skeins. Though I have been really into knitting socks.
Yeah,
I've only made two. But I'm still learning some things with sizing because
yes, it takes a while. It takes a while. You'll see on an episode that we air, episode 14, you'll hear me talk about how I think I'm getting close to the correct size. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not being there yet.
Yeah, and that's, again, like I said, it's the whole process of learning and knowing. And do you do like vanilla socks all the time?
Yes, because I'm not about to take those little needles and do ribbon and color work like and all of that. I'm not.
Like I'm doing 3x1 on this because the last one I did a vanilla and I wanted to force myself to try something else.
Nope. And that's, I try to find a pattern that I haven't done. And socks are actually good for that because you learn there's so many different techniques, so many different heels.
This heel.
This is just a slip stitch heel flap gusset. So this is the 9-inch circular
that's what I
vanilla
use.
sock by Crazy Sock Lady.
Okay.
There was a lot of, this one I did start a few times because it is for my husband. So I had to wait till he got home to try it on. And we were having issues with the cuff size going over his heel. Oh. So I ended up having to go, I did a 72 stitches on a US 2. So what is that? 2.75?
Well, we can look in the book and see.
Look in the book.
See, this is why you need the notebook.
This is why you need the notebook because you ask yourself randomly what that size is. So you did a 2?
A US 2.
A US 2?
2.75 millimeter.
Okay.
I probably could have done a 2.5 millimeter. Which
that's what I do. I do a 2.
Is a 1.5.
So I do a 2.5 for Reggie. I do a 2.5 millimeter, and I actually only do 64 for him.
Okay.
And they fit. He likes for his socks to fit. He doesn't want them to like roll down.
Which they're supposed to have a little bit of negative ease. So when I was talking with someone about them, she had mentioned after you do your, even with the heel flap, you could go down a needle size, but once you do your gusset for the foot part, go down because that's okay for that to snug. And it is a little big in the ankle. They're going to be his house socks, he said. But I had this yarn in my stash, and then I had some minis just lying around, and it was fun to kind of put the colors together.
Yeah,
and worst case, he doesn't wear them. They're slouchy on me. I'll wear them around the house.
Listen, Reggie's size I have down. Probably because I measure his a little bit more than I measure my own. But I have it down, and his socks fit perfect.
So what you do, 64 with?
I do 64 on a 2.5.
Okay.
I don't know what that is in US, 1.5 or something like that.
1.5. That I do know.
I do, and so here's what I will say. I've only done afterthought heels for him, and so I do maybe 16 inches before I decrease for the toe. I do the toe, and then I do the heel.
Okay, so I've made two pairs of socks. One for myself. And the way the pattern was written, it was a free pattern too. And I think she got the chart from, I want to say Craft Yarn Council.
Okay.
Yep.
And basically you do your gauge swatch, and then based off of your
Swatching
it's all about,
again.
I know it always comes back to that gauge swatch.
I know, right?
And then based off your circumference, it told you kind of like where you fell.
Okay.
Mhm.
And there's it's like a broken rib, I guess. And it's a 72 stitch on a 1.5 US 1.5, so a 2.5
Okay.
millimeter.
And I use a 2.25
and it
for
fits,
my own.
but it's not blocked. And I'm afraid if I block them,
Oh, I don't even block
then it
them.
will stretch out. So
I
the
don't even do
socks
that.
I want to cast on now, and I'm actually using non-superwash for the first time. So I did my gauge swatch, and I'm on gauge, but I'm trying to figure out which cast on size, because I cast
That's
on
the biggest thing.
72 stitches because it was the same needle, but it's different yarn. So I know the yarn
Mm-hmm.
kind of makes a difference. So I did the 72, and I tried on the cuff, and it just seems so big.
For
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I ripped it out, and I tried 64, and I only have a couple rows in to know. But I figure I'll get the cuff, and I'll start the pattern, and then I'll try it
You
on
try
and
it on.
see. And I'm going to try to do a short row heel.
Okay.
Oh, you
With
should
that?
try the shadow wrap heel.
Okay.
I recently did the shadow wrap heel, and it is so easy to remember. Once you get the hang of
Yeah.
it becomes second nature.
And I want to have, socks are such a great project to travel
Mhm.
with.
Yes.
Yes.
And, I mean, how many times do you find yourself sitting with 10, 15, 20 minutes, and it's like, ooh, I wish I had my knitting with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I always keep a project in my bag. So I want to have a pair of socks going at all time. And I think once I find my
Groove.
groove and my recipe, then it's just going to be to the point where I won't have to look at a pattern.
Yeah, you'll just.
But there's so many patterns out there I want to
Yeah.
try, because
Yeah.
there's so many different techniques. So I'm thinking of doing a striped sock, which I'm not a big stripe person, but something about striped socks just have been kind
They
of
are
screaming
so
my
cute.
name.
They are so cute.
So I have some striped yarn that I'd purchased, and I want to try an afterthought. I was thinking of doing like an afterthought
Yes,
heel.
that is perfect for a stripe.
I'm also itching to really cut some yarn.
I'm
I've
telling
heard
you,
it's exciting.
I love it. I only messed up one time, but I was able to fix it. I don't know. I must have when I was inserting my needles, I must have went up a row, and it was some things. And I text Jamie. I said, I'm never doing afterthought again, but I was lying. I'm gonna do it. I don't know what I was thinking. But so for myself, I use a 2.25 millimeter, and I do 64 inches. So I do 64 inches for both of us. And how I ended up making socks for Reggie is that I did 64 inches for myself on a 2.5. They were too big, but they fit him.
Okay.
So you have tiny feet too.
And but they're wide. They're weird, man. You'll never see my feet. So my socks are usually a little too big, but if I go down, they'll be too. I don't want tight socks. So
Yeah.
I just want them to fit where they don't fall down.
fall
'cause
down,
that's-
and they don't
nothing's
fall
worse
down. They
than
don't
that.
fall down.
Well, I think the best thing about this sock make along that we've hosted is just
Mhm.
seeing how many people are making socks for the first time and enjoying it. And so for me, I count that as a success for the purpose of the make along. So that's great.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it's kind of just mindless too, which
Yeah.
I
It
like.
is.
Is
It
that,
is.
especially when you're doing, though part of it's like, okay, I'm ready to be done with these.
Yes.
And I have found that once I finish one, I do want to try two at a time. But
Me
I kind
too.
of like the whole process of one and
Mhm.
then starting another. I found that once I finished one, I immediately cast on the second, so that I
Yeah.
didn't have
You
that
do?
second sock syndrome.
Okay.
Well, I mean, like I said, I've only done two pairs.
I've been strategic in that way, where I would actually not finish the whole first sock. Once I get to the toe, I'm done with the 9-inch. I'll use the 9-inch to cast on the other. So I'm doing the ribbing on one, and I'm
so
doing
almost
the
doing
toe.
it tandem.
Yeah.
And
'Cause
with
I've heard-
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, if you are at a yarn festival and you only have budget to buy like one skein, buy a sock yarn,
Yes.
because
yes.
you'll know that you'll be able to get a project
pair
out
of
that.
socks.
and
yes.
it'll be a memory from that moment.
Yeah, I think I know that I'm going to start doing that because I automatically go for like sweaters quantity. I think I'm going to start going more towards hat and sock quantity. No, I am excited to start up Sip and Stitch again whenever we
Me
start
too.
and have our brunch series so we can see each other more often.
Yeah.
And I think I'm gonna get like a mini book so I can put in my bag to take to Rhinebeck, and just so I can continue to hoard things.
That's a good way to put it. It's isn't it they say knitting is one hobby, but collecting yarn is a
Collecting
second?
yarn is another, and for me, it's collecting paper, it's collecting stamps, it's collecting now fabric, because I made the one bag and then I went out and bought a whole bunch of fabric, and I've not turned the sewing machine back on since, only to practice my stitches.
You'll get there.
Oh, I love that project bag you made.
Thank you.
That was so cute.
Yeah, I have some. I'm gonna do another. I just don't know when. So I'm always collecting things to make things with.
I think that's the problem with being a maker.
Yeah.
Or anyone who just loves crafts, is that you kind of dabble in it, and the next thing you know, you've put money into it. Like, oh, I have a whole thing for embroidery, and which I do that too. And I like trying different crafts.
Yeah.
And you know, you have all the things like yarn dyeing. I did some like natural yarn dyeing, which didn't work out. I think we had too much yarn in the pot. And I didn't realize I'd taken a class. It wasn't exactly what I expected. We played with Kool-Aid the first day, and I wasn't too thrilled with that. And then we did natural dyeing the second day, which I was more interested in. But if I had the time, I think once, I don't know, having a toddler run around doesn't really help with timing.
No.
But it's something I've always been interested in, and I think playing with colors would be so much fun. So I have some of the equipment, and I have yarn that we dyed naturally, that because we had too much yarn in the pot, the color.
You could over dye it.
I think I'm going to. I
That'd
have
be
some.
I think Jamie should have like some type of dyeing tour where she's like
Do a
dyeing
class,
yarn,
I'd come.
or she could do a class. And
Maybe if I fulfill my dream of organizing a Detroit fiber retreat, like a weekend where it's like we've got maybe a yoga class,
I'm not gonna do that one,
whatever. But like, you know, it would be like various things. So like it interests, you know, maybe someone doesn't want to do the yarn dyeing, but somebody wants to take yoga. You know, like you can kind of like pick your activities. We have meals together. And
build your own retreat.
yeah, so that is my dream.
Yeah, I'll
That'd
come.
be so much fun.
I think like maybe not 2022 because you know everybody's gonna be like going
Crazy about
but,
being
like,
out. Yeah.
2023. Well,
I would
Plenty
love
of time
that.
to plan.
I want
Plenty.
something. I want something for Detroit, so I'll come.
yes.
And I want to make a speckled sock. And I know it sounds hard, but I always go for the hard stuff first. I don't ever like.
You mean dye speckled sock?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Actually, that's easy.
Speckled
Because
is easy?
You can't go wrong. I mean, it's hard to speckle correctly. Like you have to know what you're doing. But
I mean, I want to do it, and I
as
want it
opposed to getting like a very solid, you know, where you're like trying to get things very even, random
would be easier.
is easy.
Okay.
I would think.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because, you know, my first thing I ever knit was a garment. I wasn't doing a hat. I wasn't doing a scarf.
That's smart.
It was a garment because I like to jump right in. I don't believe in
mine was
coasting.
a scarf.
I don't
Me too.
believe in coasting into anything.
And it's funny, my husband, which back then when we were dating, he's like, will you make me a scarf? Well, I didn't know the proper way to join yarn. And all of a sudden he's like, hey, I know you made this and you spent a lot of time on it. And it was acrylic yarn. It wasn't anything expensive. Nothing wrong with acrylic. There's always a project for that. I have so much acrylic at home, making little monsters for my daughter because she just loves having them.
Perfect.
But all of a sudden there was holes everywhere in this. I'm thinking, why are there holes? Did something get at it?
Tie.
Yep. And it wasn't the correct form of tying, so they started unraveling.
Oh, wow.
So it was a very short-lived scarf that took forever to make.
I crocheted Reggie a scarf and a hat, and the scarf is so long, but I think I'm going to take it on because I love it anyway. And the hat fit ill. It was ill-fitting.
It's amazing too to see.
But I can also wear it and it'll look nice on me, just not on him.
Oh, you did this on purpose. It is cool to see though, like your process, not your process, but like from where you started and what you made versus like where you are now.
Yeah.
And I love that there's so much to learn still.
Yeah.
It's gratifying.
Yeah.
It is. And then when you finish something, my favorite thing is, oh, I love your top. Thanks, I made it.
I made it.
That's the best.
Yes, I made it. Yeah, I love that.
Well, we made these, and we're happy campers.
Yeah. So I think that is it for now. Kirby, thank you for joining
Thank you
us.
so
Thank you so much for
much.
having me. This was
You're
a blast.
welcome.
It's
You're
so
welcome.
good to see both
fun.
of you.
Likewise.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah.
So until next time, if you are a returning viewer, thank you for joining us. If you are new to our channel, please consider subscribing, liking, and clicking the notification button so you can get notifications when we upload new content.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.